My name is Totalbiscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit, and I suck at Starcraft 2. Still, it's the new ladder season. That means there's time for new maps, there's time for attempting to desperately claw yourselves out of the deep void, the bowels of these lower leagues. And one such person who is, of course, trying to do that to me as I do that to him is Mr. Cure, who is going up against me in the southwest position here on this new map, Overgrowth. It's an interesting looking map. Aesthetically, it's really quite pleasing. It's quite nice. Looks a little bit like Star Station until you go on and you notice, oh look, it's completely covered in giant space pumpkins, which unfortunately cannot be mined for extra minerals, which I feel is highly disappointing. But it does have a number of interesting features, particularly this bit right here seems to just scream to me anti-blink, like in every way. This huge cliff would be an absolute nightmare to defend against any kind of blink all-in. What's this SCV doing? You wanna maybe get to... Go on. What a lazy bastard. Look at that guy. Finally, he decides I should do my job. The loyalty is lacking in these fellows, I think. Yeah, very much anti-blink, from what I can tell, which is quite nice. So, you know, I don't mind this map too much. Not getting blink all-in is nice. It's a little bit anti-Reaper as well. You know, anything that's anti-blink is inherently anti-Reaper too. You can, I think, get up there. Although, actually, probably not. It looks like that's 2 levels, so I think you couldn't get up there with a Reaper. You'd have to jump up here and then jump up there. Which you could do, and then you can jump up there as well. So, not a brilliant Reaper map, honestly. Alright. Cure, interesting, is going for a second barracks. That certainly is very intriguing indeed. So one has to wonder what's coming from that. You know, one Reaper coming already. Are we going to see a second Reaper out of him? We very well might. Sort of nudged off in the corner there, out of the way. Myself, I'm going for the Reaper opening. And I'm going to be going in, hopefully, to an expansion. At least that's the plan at any rate. But of course, with the second barracks down there, you can probably guess that's most likely not going to happen, as there's going to be a Reaper there too. So, double Reaper opening. What does it do? Well, what's the effect? Well, the effect is that if you go for one barracks expand, you can get your CC shut down quite easily. However, it does slow down the opponent's production. Uses a lot of gas early on, for obvious reasons. He's still producing 2 Reapers, so that could have been a factory right there. Slows down his tech, and slows down his ability to get a CC. In fact, his orbital isn't even done yet. Mine's been running for quite some time. And there's the Reaper. He's going to wait for a couple more. I'm able to get in there. See what I can see. I get one SCV kill, which is quite nice. And I spot the second barracks, and another Reaper coming out there. And I don't think I get away. No, indeed, he's coming back with that. So that Reaper will die. Well, that's unpleasant. That's very unpleasant indeed. How are we going to handle that? Well, I had guessed at this point that it would be additional Reapers. So I started placing a bunker down by my mineral line. Can't protect everywhere at once. At all. But I can at least try and protect the mineral line. Of course, building this at the low ground was pretty stupid. Really stupid. I shouldn't have started it there. I don't even know why I did. A lot of the time, I suppose, people will just do that because they think they're safe. And of course, it's a lot easier to start mining if you build your CC down the low ground. But what happens? Well, you fall prey to things like this, you know. You lose the ability to defend it. I forced a cancel on my command center, which is absolutely huge. You know, I don't have a tech advantage on him because I built extra barracks in order to try and defend against this. And of course, everything that's now popping out of this is going to die. This is basically camped now by 4 Reapers, so I'm in huge trouble. I'm behind economically. He's building yet more Reapers, which is a bit overkill. I actually decide to pull my SCVs, which does give me a little bit of maneuverability and the ability to push back a couple of these Reapers. I do lose some SCVs, but I can't keep letting him build up and camp my production, so I have to push him back. I lose a couple of workers. I've lost 5 already here. But he is just still building Reapers, and this is kind of the mistake that he is making. Because this attack that he's done right here could have been hugely effective. He could have started this command center about a minute ago. Or he could have thrown down extra barracks and gone for some Marines and used Reaper Marine. He could have added some Hellions. All of those potential, but he goes for the double CC. Okay, so he's going to go for a double expand after this, which seems sensible. I've been pinned down pretty badly. I'm trying to build up my command center once again. I'm trying to hold this mineral line, but he's got 4 Reapers behind it. Takes out yet another. What's he doing in the background? Well, he's kind of... This is the problem. He's just kind of floating a lot of minerals. I am as well, as I try and defend, so it's not like I'm not guilty of the same thing. But I think that if you're going to do something like this at lower levels, you've got to be a little bit careful about letting your macros slip. It's much, much more important that you start building your tech at the right time. You really make sure that everything's working correctly, and you've got all the production buildings that you need. And Q does not, you know. He's floating quite a lot of money. He is going for this double CC. And what's going to happen when he puts a double CC down? Well, of course, it's going to make a lot of money, but he doesn't have the production buildings to actually spend it. So this advantage that he's getting early on, he's not able to capitalize on it. Alright, there's the quick jump up. I do have Marines there already, thankfully, so I get 2 Reapers out of it, and Q's reprogression is pretty much done. I've got a bunker down here, so this is shut down. So, now he needs to stop doing this and capitalize on his economic advantage. He has 27 SCVs already to my 17. He has killed 6 workers. He's camped my production. He is actually now going double starport, which is a rather interesting transition out of this. I'm just going for a single starport, and I'm just trying to play straight up bio, but I mean, look at how far I'm behind here. No stim. Here's the thing, though. He could have had stim a long time ago, and he doesn't have it. He's had the gas for God knows how long, but he just hasn't built stim. So this is another disadvantage of going for this really micro-intensive play at very, very low levels. You can end up screwing yourself, which is not what you want to do. He could have been starting double upgrades. He is starting a tank now. Good way to start sinking some of that gas, but, you know, is he going to start stim at any point? Is that going to happen? Well, he is swapping around here. It looks like he's going for double Banshee instead, so evidently not. But I do think that he would have been better off if he'd actually gone for stim. Do I have an engineering bay down? I do not, so if he does decide to go for double Banshee, that will be unpleasant. He's actually going for medevac here. Sitting a starport down here, so I'd think he would be going for something, but he's not building anything. He's very focused on getting all these 3 CCs up and running. And in the meantime, he's actually behind. At least I'm catching up on him at any rate. He's not behind yet, but he's getting there. That should never happen. How have I closed this 10 SCV gap? Well, I've just been building SCVs and he hasn't. It's as simple as that. He's been letting his macros slip. In fact, he even has workers just sitting around here doing nothing. But it's okay, you know, once he gets the 3rd CC down, he might be able to get something done. So, am I behind at this stage? Strangely enough, not. He's dedicating to an interesting tech path that at this stage of the game generally doesn't work very well, because your opponent's usually got a lot of Marines. He might have a Viking by now. He's probably got turrets. I'm building a turret at the back here. I don't know what he's doing. I haven't scanned, but I can assume at this stage of the game there's probably going to be a drop coming in. So I want a missile turret, particularly around here, because if he tries to get around the back, it's going to be awkward for him. And as it turns out, this missile turret is hugely useful, because if he tries to go around the back with Banshees, he's going to be in trouble, and I've got one here too. So this is working out well. Now, he has 3 CCs to my 2, and yet I am only 2 SCVs behind. So, again, letting the SCV production slip. So am I. You know, I'm actually floating a huge amount of minerals here. So it's not like I'm not making the same macro mistakes. This is the kind of thing that you've got to iron out. These are the kind of things that you must fix. And why am I slipping on this stuff? Well, 1, I got supply blocked. And 2, I'm messing around with a medevac drop with Widow Mines. Which sounds fancy. Yeah, it could do damage. What I'm thinking at this point is that I have got to be so far behind. Harass is going to be super effective. Because, of course, I didn't see the replay at this point. I was just playing and hoping for the best. But I let my macro slip in the process, and I'm still floating all these resources. You know, what do? I should be dumping down 4 more barracks, getting my production rolling. And now he's gained a, 5 SCV lead, just because I slipped. However, this harass will do something. He doesn't have any defense, so I can boost in, I can drop a couple of Widow Mines, I can take out 2/3 Mule. Shame I didn't get it before its load came in, but never mind. So I do some damage, pick him up immediately, because, why wait? He pulls 3 SCVs off the mineral line there, and is now going to go and try and build. I go over to the side, I find a missile turret, and I'm very, very slow with pulling back, but never mind. And now I'm only 3 SCVs behind, and I'm still building. And actually, I have an army supply advantage. As again, He's kind of been letting his macro slip. I'm trying to get on top of it. I'm dumping down more barracks to try and get on top of my macro, because I've got too much money, and I consistently have this problem. Because I'm bad. You know, I'm a terrible player, so macro is a weakness. But I'm able to start spending now. Bear in mind, I haven't done it... Actually, I haven't done it too badly here, strangely enough. I thought I queued up a bunch of stuff, but actually I didn't. So I got down just enough barracks to really be able to sink in and keep up my SCV production as well. These Widow Mines are going to be incredibly annoying. And this third base advantage that he supposedly has, well, he doesn't have it anymore. What he does have is a huge tech advantage. Yeah? I have Marines, Marauders, Medivacs, and some Widow Mines. He has tanks. He has 5 Banshees, all with Cloak, which is kind of crazy. But he doesn't have Stim. And he actually hasn't researched it. And this is something I didn't realize by this point. I mean, that's a huge error. Not only do you not have Stim, but you don't have combat shields. I actually am going to have both by the time this hits. Yes, these tanks are going to be very dangerous, but I have combat shields, he doesn't. I have Stim, he doesn't. Reaper's coming in to have a look. They actually find themselves a Widow Mines. Good use of a Reaper there, just to eat that. In the meantime, I do, of course, have some Widow Mines being annoying at his third base. And I actually have an SCV lead at this point. I stim in, try and do damage. I try and kill his siege tank, but with that many Banshees, there's just no way. And here comes the shelling. So he's going to try and push me back here. Banshee does not go down. There's just too many of them. I try my best here, but let's be honest. I'm not going to be able to fight this. I'm fighting into a choke point against tanks. It's not working out well. I am able to mostly clean up his SCVs. Not his SCVs, sorry. His Marines. I do drop from the back to try and stop him, and I just barely managed to stop this assault, but not without losing a massive amount of army. If we look at units lost here, it's just crushing. I lose 50 Marines to his 18. He did lose all of his Banshees, but he only lost 1 siege tank. And now he's continuing to reinforce, and now he's on top of his macro. He's pretty much in full macro mode. 8 Marines at a time, 1 siege tank, 1 Banshee. Now he's working on Stim. If he had actually had Stim into this fight, I probably would have been dead. Let's be honest. Probably would have been dead. These Widow Mines are still being really annoying. That one's got 3 kills, that one's got 4, which is obviously fantastic, and I'm going to be able to take out another one here as well. And at this point, I'm just desperately thinking, I've got to defend, I've got to defend, I've got to defend. And somehow he misses that command center, which is a little bit weird. I thought, you know what? Okay, if he's got a soft contain, maybe I can just sneak a base out. Maybe that's possible. But now he's going to hold on. And I was wondering at this point in the game, why is this guy not attacking me? Turns out the reason is that he didn't have key tech. Finally, my Widow Mines get cleaned up, but they did a lot. And this third base this entire time has been completely useless to him. And I think this is the only reason why I'm still in the game at this point. But still, he has a 30 supply lead on me, which is pretty crippling. He has a huge army. He will have Stim in a minute. He still won't have combat shields, which again is a pretty major error. I also have +1, which he doesn't. He's just started that. He's building a second engineering bay as well. Now he can finally mine from this base, but he's not doing it. And I believe he's kind of oversaturated just a little bit. His SCV count's actually not crazy. But, you know, it's not the worst thing ever. Alright, well, unfortunately, he has a Banshee there, so he's going to be able to snipe that. I'm at least able to get a Mule down. He's reinforcing now. 3 more tanks roll out here. 6 tanks to 0. I have no tanks. I'm building whatever I can, which is like a couple of Hellions, a lot of Marines. He has double my Marine count almost. And, of course, with the tanks, it's absolutely huge. And now he's going to go for the push. And how on earth will I even survive that? I mean, my entire army runs in and just dies. I lose at least 10 Marines there, and he's going to say to me, oh, God. He's just going to crush this. Absolutely crush it. And this, funnily enough, all comes from the amount of damage that he did earlier, which enabled him to get a lead. And he could have got a much bigger lead than this, too. I lose my CC. He has his tanks. He didn't bring his tanks up quickly, so I'm at least able to try and fight him on a choke point. If he brought all his tanks in earlier, then he might have taken a worse fight. But let's be honest, I'm completely outnumbered. 130 supply to 88. And he's found my planetary fortress. So what am I doing? Well, desperation maneuver, folks. Simple as that. Desperation maneuver. I'm going to try and fight him here, and I'm going to triple drop right into his base. In doing so, I end up losing 2 of my medevacs. But I do have troops on the ground, and I'm going to hit him as hard as I can and just try and stop him. And now I go for a drop on his tanks just to try and do as much damage as I can, but he shuts that down immediately. And this is the desperation play. 75 supply to 110 here. I'm clearly going to lose this planetary. I've lost my mining base. He's pushing in with tanks. What have I got? Almost nothing. My entire army is in his base trying to camp his production. And slowly but surely, he is trying to push that back, but he's not succeeding yet. And I'm doing damage. He continues to push up. 88 supply to 56. But you know what? He's losing units. He has no medevacs. He's slowly but surely losing units here. I'm spawning units. I am killing as many of his units as possible. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rally back here. In the meantime, I'm continuing to camp his production. I have a medevac. I stim. I keep fighting. I keep fighting. I have an upgrade advantage. I have combat shield versus no combat shield there. I'm still fighting. He still has tanks camping my main base. 77 supply to 60 now. But what am I doing over here? Well, I'm getting Marines ready. I'm trying to build up a force. He has a couple of units here that overstimmed. I kill them off without losing anything. I'm pushed back. I don't want to run to this tank line. If I do that, I'm dead. In the meantime, of course, I continue to fight. I'm pushing back here as best I can. And I still have an army. He has lost pretty much all of his workers here, but he's still got 3 tanks sitting on this mineral line. He still has the army supply advantage. It's still 39 supply to 35. He's got the tanks. He stims in right here. And here's the key move. This, I'm going to slow this down because this is where he loses the game, if you can believe it, from that position. He moves his tanks forward. He double stims his Marines. I bring in my SCVs off the line. He loses all of his Marines. And as I do that, I stim in from the side with this little army that I've been building up. And I crush what's left of him. And of course, well, these guys are in pretty much untouchable at this point. I have 7 SCVs to my name. I have no mining bases. But this army right here, this Marauder has 12 kills. That Marine has 8. Incredible. Ridiculous. 13 kills now on that Marauder. They continue fighting. These guys are veterans of the conflict at this point. And he cannot get units out. He just cannot do it. And it's actually a win. It surprised me a lot. You know, that whole Doom Drop thing was a bit of a desperation move, honestly. It's more than just a bit of a desperation move. It was absolutely a desperation move. But hey, you know, I think that I wouldn't say I did well there. I made fewer mistakes than he did. By all rights, that game should have been lost. If we go back to the 7-minute mark and we look at the situation, it's ugly. It really is ugly at this point. But he didn't capitalize on that fact. You know, double CC sounds great, but if your macro sucks, why just make more money that you can't spend? He didn't quite think it through. He did not quite think it through. He could have put a tech lab down really, really early. He could have researched Stim. I mean, he could have started Stim right now, in fact. Or even earlier than that, if he hadn't dedicated to just building double Reaper all the time. He could have had 1 less Reaper. And he could have started Stim immediately. And then he would have had, you know, Stim versus no Stim. When I have pretty much no tech at this point, I'm sitting on barracks, I don't even have a siege tank. I mean, that's only going to go one way. So he could have done that. That was a possibility. I think, honestly, what really killed him was this just dedication to double Banshee. I just don't see the reason for it. It's a lot of gas. You know, you're throwing 200 gas every time you build 2 Banshees, and of course 100 gas into the cloak. This could have been Stim, Combat Shields, Engineering Base. You push in with Stim Combat Shield +1. I'm not stopping that. Not way in a million years. No. No, no, no. It's like he had so many ways to kill me, and he decided, I don't know if he decided to be fancy, or if he decided, I don't know what it was. I don't have an explanation for it. And this is not a usual follow-up. Double starport. I mean, what does it do? It doesn't really do much. And he actually used the Banshees as part of the push. If we look forward here, yeah, let's skip forward a few minutes. And I think this is when he kind of starts building Banshees. I don't know what's happened with the skipping these days. He used to be able to just drag around the place. Yeah, try to go for this drop here. I think I hit him with the Widow Mines and did like 3 workers worth of damage. Then I pulled it back and around. But he already has Banshees at this point. He's got 2 Banshees. He's done nothing with them. And he's going up to 4. If he had 4 Banshees, he could kill those missile turrets. Or he could find another way. He could hit my production some way. I'm supply blocked at this point, so I'm way, way behind. there's also a lot of times when I could have just lost the game entirely. I threw away my army in a silly way. I could have just built up. I could have got my more medevacs out and dropped behind him, tried to bypass the contain. But at the end, it was a case of him being impetuous and me kind of trying to be patient. Rallying back units all the way here, and then just waiting for him to make a mistake. And he kind of overstimmed his army. His tanks ended up being undefended, and then I was able to sweep around and kill him. What's the lesson to be learned here? Well, you know, that double Reaper opening did a lot of damage. It was maybe unnecessarily fancy. If you are a low league player, really you should try to play a no-frills kind of strategy. Why waste the time? There's so many things here that could have been done too. I mean, he has so much energy. He could have just mule hammered that third base immediately, although considering what happened, it's a good job that he didn't. Otherwise, he would have lost them all to these Widow Mines here. Do you have to be fancy? Think about it. Do you have to do this whole double Reaper thing? Reapers are insanely micro-intensive. If you are at that kind of level, do you have the skill to control it and still keep up on your macro behind? Because if you can't, you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting the other guy. You're just better off playing straight up. Obviously, it's very tempting to be fancy, but I mean, right now, there is no justification for him being at 89 supply versus 114. But he has been supply blocked for so long because he's been too focused on something else. Just build stuff. Build stuff. And if you have money, build more stuff that builds stuff. And it's really that simple. No need to be fancy. No need to have these. No need to have these. Mass Marine would have killed me. On 3 base, you know, 3 base economy versus 2. There's no way I would have been able to hold that. Not in a million years. So yeah. Nothing fancy, folks. Just try and be the bulldozer, yeah? Be a sledgehammer rather than a scalpel. There's a reason why non-surgeons don't get to do surgery. You're not a surgeon. At least not at this level. Don't act like one. Don't try and do anything fancy. Fix it in the most basic way you know how. My name is Totalbiscuit. I still suck at Starcraft 2. I'll see you next time.